How's it going, Mets and overall baseball fans? Welcome back to the channel. Another day, another breaking news video as the Mets have made another call-up, this time not with a top prospect, but with veteran catcher and now cracking himself in Gary Sanchez. I want to know your raw reactions to this call-up in the comments below. To all you guys watching, and of course, make sure to smash that like and subscribe button for the most consistent Mets updates here on YouTube. But to get into this, I mean, no one should be shocked. Of course, the Mets back on May 9th signed him to that minor league deal, but as we know, he has an opt-out in his contract tomorrow, May 19th. So the Mets had to act sooner than later. They were going to give Gary Sanchez at all of a leash to be, at minimum, the Mets backup catcher for Francisco Alvarez for the foreseeable future until, say, Tomas Nido returns from his eye injury, fixing his eyes on that front. And then, of course, in the next 2 weeks or so, when Omar Narvaez is going to be making his return, whenever Narvaez is ready, because I do believe he begins rehab games in the next week or so, according to Buck Showalter, that he said the other day. But, I mean, Sanchez, what has he done to Rays since arriving in the Mets organization in just 8 games in AAA? He has a 300 average, over 1,000 OPS, 1 home run, 5 RBIs. He's doing it all at the AAA level. And yes, of course, he doesn't have the defensive upside. The bat-to-ball skills is the only thing carrying him at this point in his career. However, as a veteran, that, of course, can be a nice say to share words of wisdom, if at all, to Francisco Alvarez, who is the future and the now this Mets team at the backstop position. You really can't go wrong. So Alvarez, of course, will be coming up. Michael Perez, if I had to assume, will be the transaction corresponding going down. He did not get himself a hit today at the starting catching position in the Mets series victory over the Rays, in which we did a post-game show of earlier today. Make sure to check that out, guys. And I was in attendance at yesterday's game too, and boy, oh boy, was that something that I did a separate video on. But again, this is a simple move for the Mets. We all kind of figured it, given the fact of him having to opt out tomorrow. They were trying to see if they could even stretch it another 10 days. I'd assume Sanchez said no, and because of that reason, they said, okay, we're going to bring you up then and see what you got. So I don't know how much reps we're going to see with Sanchez. Hopefully not too much, because again, you want Alvarez to get the bulk of time there at the backstop. But more than anything too, is he going to get any reps at DH? That's possible. Don't love it. Not in heavy favor of it, especially when you have Mark Vientos and other viable DH options there to begin with. I know the Mets want to give Vientos more reps there at third base, but let's be realistic. Vientos is going to profile best as a first baseman and a DH. The sooner the Mets realize that, the better. Even though Beatty isn't necessarily going to be a liability, should he get time in left field, you want Beatty in the hot corner, because that is likely your third baseman for hopefully the next decade, with the way that he is playing and the way that he projects to be with that great bat-to-ball skills and solid defense. But going back on the Gary Sanchez front a little bit more, again, this is depth for the Mets to have the catching position. That's certainly better than, say, not only Michael Perez, but also the Hayden Sengers in Double-A. Like the Mets, it made sense why they did this pickup 10 days ago, and then the next day is when Nido was put on the IL, right? So makes perfect sense in that front. Now we'll just find out, of course, how long of a leash is he going to even have on this Mets roster before being potentially sent down and maybe opting out of his deal then, because, of course, Tomas Nido, it's not going to be too long before he comes back on this roster, right? Is he going to have to do any rehab games, fixing his eyes? I'm not sure. Narvaez, again, the next week or so will be starting rehab games, but I will say this, as separate from Sanchez a little bit, when Narvaez is inevitably returning to the Mets, whether it's a couple weeks from now or whenever he's going to be ready, the Mets need to make sure that they make the obvious choice. And I'm sorry, and I like Tomas Nido as a person and everything, but he is the odd man out of the catching spot right now. He doesn't have any more minor league options left, if I'm not mistaken. If I am, let me know, but I'm almost 100% sure he doesn't have any more minors options left. He will be DFA'd. He should be DFA'd, and Francisco Alvarez should stay as a starting catcher, splitting time then with Omar Narvaez, because Narvaez is on that contract that the Mets can't back out of right now. He's a better hitting catcher already than Nido, and I know Nido has a good rapport with the Mets pitchers, but at the end of the day, Nido's bat-to-ball skills just certainly aren't there to justify putting him in the lineup as consistently as they were, and Alvarez is proving day by day here in the month of May already, with 3 home runs for that matter, that he is not only the future, but he is the now. To send him down would be beyond a terrible look, and hopefully we do not see that transpire. But Mets fans, I want to know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you feel about the call-up of course, coveted 30-year-old prospect, cue the sarcasm here, and El Kraken, Gary Sanchez? What do you think? What type of impact, if at all, do you think he's going to have on this Mets team, and for how long exactly? Whatever your thoughts are, make sure to drop them down below. And again, thank you so much for chiming in for this quick Mets update, as again, the Mets call up Gary Sanchez for the first time, as he will be making his Mets debut. And who knows, maybe he'll bring a spark to this team, maybe he'll bring some home run power, or maybe he'll bring nothing at all. Only time will tell. Again, thank you guys so much for the support, and stay tuned for more great content on WardyNYM as always, and I'll talk to you again real soon. Let's go Mets, baby. Peace out.